Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another of my videos and to bring you guys the best Bloodline tier list in Shindo Life. Now if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want more. Also, be sure to leave a like on this video, guys. There's going to be a lot of salty people, so every like will matter a ton. And thank you guys for watching. Let's get right to the video, guys. Alright guys, so for this tier list, I actually changed bad to unusable. And I actually didn't change anything, but I added a tier called almost broken. Just because to separate the broken from the really good. Someone suggested I add this, and after some thought, I actually agree with this because some bloodlines that I was putting in broken aren't quite broken, they're almost broken. Starting off with Akuma, and Akuma, in my opinion, is actually going to be going into really good simply because the Genjutsu on it is very good, and the C spec does have a glitch where you can actually one-shot people if you have 3 or more people, and other than that, third ability is just not very good. It does an okay amount of damage, and the auto dodge is probably the best ability of Akuma, and the auto dodge kind of carries the KG, and for that, I'm going to be putting in really good. Be sure to check this out, but this is probably going to be lowest on the really good. Next up is going to be Golden Joke. Golden Joke is actually going to be in almost broken. I feel like the mode of Golden Joke is literally terrible. I think almost nobody uses Golden Joke for the mode. It's just for the first ability, the second ability, and the third ability. But if the mode was really good, it would be in broken. But because the mode isn't very good, I'm going to be putting it in almost broken. But almost broken obviously is almost broken. Next up is going to be Asher Storm. Asher Storm is going to be going into the top of really good. After the rework, Asher Storm is now really amazing. M1's actually stun people. All the abilities are overall a lot better now. And it's just overall a better KG than it was a month ago. Next up is going to be Azarashi. Azarashi is actually going to be going in good. I feel like Azarashi overall, the Bloodline, the rework actually did make it a lot better. But them nerfing the Z-Spec actually hurt Azarashi a lot more than you might expect. Because it made it not very good for M1 combos anymore. Simply because your M1s don't stack anymore. And the pool doesn't stun after you actually pull them in. And that kind of was a big hit to Azarashi. But the rework prevented it from going into Met or unusable. Next up is going to be a Zimseko. A Zimseko is actually going to be going to the bottom of really good. I feel like a Zimseko has a lot of flaws to it as a KG. I feel like the counter is probably the best ability of a Zimseko, but all the other ones was nerfed to the point where there's no real reason to ever use a Zimseko now. Next up is going to be Bankai. Bankai is actually going to be going to broken. Obviously, one of the best Akumas in the entire game, if not the single best Akuma. I feel like Bankai deserves the broken tier simply because the mode drain. Third ability dealing a ton of damage. The long range Genjutsu easy to hit stun. And the first ability being one of the best auto dodges in the game. Overall, just an extremely broken KG. Next up is actually going to be Black Shock. Black Shock is actually going to be going into Meh. I feel like Black Shock overall, even with the buffs, it's still a very bad KG overall. I feel like there's no real reason to ever use this besides the Z-Spec, which gives you end lag. It's basically like a Rengoku pool, but you dash to them instead. That's the only real reason to ever use Black Shock. There's still some changes that need to be made regarding this KG. Next up is going to be Bolt. Bolt actually going to be going into the bottom of Meh. After the nerfs, Bolt is nearly unusable as a KG. I feel like Bolt it needs to be rebuffed to the point to actually be good again, but it is borderline unusable if it wasn't for the abilities actually doing a tiny amount of stun. Next up is going to be Bubble. Bubble's actually going to be to the bottom of broken. After some thought regarding this bloodline, it is not very good by itself, but you can't spam it beyond comparison, which is going to be the reason why it's in broken. And the first ability having no hand signs is ridiculous. I don't even know why that was changed. If they were going to change anything, it should have been the third move. But yeah, Bubble's broken now, guys. Use it for combos. Next up is going to be Clay. Clay's actually going to be going to the top of good. I feel like with all the changes, it actually makes Clay a lot better as a KG, but the third ability doesn't actually block break, even though they said it would. And that kind of flaws Clay, but I feel like Clay is probably going to end up being at the top of good, simply because of the iframes Clay now has. Crystal's actually going to be going to the top of Meh. I feel like Crystal's probably going to end up being the best Meh move, simply because the first ability is very good for combos, and that's about it. Next up is going to be Dongan. Dongan is actually going to be going to the bottom of good. I feel like Dongan, even with the third ability being buffed, I feel like Dongan overall, the counter or the auto dodge, whatever it is terrible. It's literally just a Zimseko's auto dodge, but much, much, much worse. And that's pretty much all there is to Dongan. The mode sucks as well. So if you guys love sucky modes, then go for Dongan. Next up is going to be Dioseko. Dioseko, in my opinion, is going to be above Golden Joke and almost broken. The time stop is extremely good. The auto dodge is also extremely good, but the other two abilities are very, very lacking and very lackluster overall. Simply because they do not do that much damage whatsoever, and the stun is very, very low. There's no reason to ever use the other two abilities, but the mode is kind of fast and it gives you a decent amount of stats. so please take that into account. Next up is going to be Explosion. I feel like Explosion is actually very unusable as a KG. It got nerfed a while back, if you guys do not know, and a lot of the abilities are actually not nearly as good as they used to be. And overall, it's just a very unusable KG when it comes to actual fights in Shindo Life. Next up is going to be Forge. Forge is actually going to be going to the bottom of Almost Broken. I feel like Forge, which is now Shiver Akuma, by the way, the changes were ultimately necessary and very good for the KG, but the changes probably make it almost broken in my personal opinion. I feel like it would be broken if it weren't for like some of the hand signs and like I don't know. Forge is overall that a KG that you always hate, but always isn't very good. Do you guys get what I mean when I say that? Frostfire, bottom of unusable. The stuns are good, but it takes up a bloodline slot. There's no reason to ever use this unless you have 4 bloodline slots. And for the most part, 90% of the Shindo Life player base does not have 4 bloodline slots. Gold Sand is actually going to be going to the below Clay on good. I feel like Gold Sand with the rework actually makes it very usable. The first ability is literally just Shizen's first ability, or Raikishiz's first ability. You guys should check it out if you guys have it already. It just made Gold Sand a lot better, basically. Next up is going to be Wanzayame. It's going to be the bottom of really good. Wanzayame with the changes actually made Wanzayame quite good, especially with Shark Rush. The Shark Rush is now a one-hand side ability that does quite a bit of damage, and the stun is also very usable now. Ice is actually going to be second on mid. The first ability no longer has hand sides. I honestly, and I'm being honest when I say this, I'm probably going to start using Ice in competitive simply because the first ability having no hand signs. I don't think you guys understand just how powerful no hand sign abilities are. If you make a kit of entirely no hand sign abilities, you literally win against anyone. You will absolutely destroy anyone you face because no hand signs, you are completely unpredictable in what you're doing. You could combo super easily, and there's a lot of no hand sign abilities currently in the game. Ink is actually going to be going to the bottom of really good. After the changes, Ink with a stun and the block breaker is now really good, but still the mode sucks. It's not very good overall. The first ability, I think they actually nerfed the first ability because they made the other two better, if I'm not mistaken. But the other two being better actually moves Ink to being really good. You guys should check out Ink if you guys haven't. It is overall a really good KG, and I can actually expect it to go to almost broken or broken if it is buffed in the future. Iron Sand is actually going to the bottom really good. The first ability can be used in cheese combos where you can one-shot people. The second ability is a really good AoE stun. It's basically Variety Mud stun, but the AoE isn't quite as wide, and it doesn't stun nearly as much. And, oh wait, no, the third ability is the one with the spikes that does one-shots. The first ability is Sand Shower, which is a long-range stun ability that does a little bit amount of damage. The best ability of Apollo Sand is actually going to be the mode. M1 range is insane. The C-Spec is also insane. Go check out Iron Sand, guys. Next up is actually going to be Eternal. Eternal, in my personal opinion, is going to be going into Almost Broken at the very bottom of Almost Broken because of the combo potential it actually has. They actually buffed Eternal, if you guys did not know. The C-Spec doesn't last as long, but it now does more damage per hit, which is overall a buff because more damage per hit means that you can do more DPS, which means you can outrace healing now, which is very good for Eternal because it's a combo KG, and that's all it is. Also, the first ability now no longer has hand sides, if you guys don't know. I don't know why people are not using Eternal Counter now. Eternal Counter is probably one of the best abilities in the entire game now because it has no hand signs. Joke is going to be going to the middle of good. It's literally just Golden Joke with half the damage, and Golden Joke with half the damage happens to be only good. Who would have thought that? Kakatsu, in my opinion, is going to be going to the bottom of good. I feel like Kakatsu with the reworks made it from unusable to good. The Z-Spec is now, like, really good to use. You could probably one-shot someone with the Z-Spec if you stun them properly, because the Z-Spec now does a lot more damage overall. And the first ability and the second ability, third ability all got buffs, and overall, Kakatsu is just good now, not unusable anymore. Kaijin is actually going to be going to the bottom of really good. Kaijin is actually really busted. The Z-Spec, the monkey, can literally be up 24/7. You could always have a clone up. I don't think people realize just how busted that is. If you guys think clones are annoying, imagine a clone that actually does a lot of damage, never dies, never goes away, you can't damage it, takes no CC, literally just hunts you down the entire fight. It is impossible to basically kill someone with this monkey. That's what I'm trying to say. Kaijin monkey OP. Karada is actually going to the second of good. I feel like Karada with the changes actually made it very good, but not really good as in really good, just good. In my personal opinion, I feel like the changes of Karada, the first ability now does less damage. The second ability is really good for combos, but you have to be really good at aiming, and you have to be lucky, because if they get flung away, then it'll mess up your combo. And overall, Karada's just a good KG now. Kenichi's actually going to be going into the bottom of broken. I feel like Kenichi is still broken simply because the third ability is a block breaker if you hit behind them. It has the Kenichi weapon spec that pulls you in like Threadblade, extended M1s, passive auto dodge. What's not to love with this KG? It doesn't even use chi. You can use the abilities and only use stamina. It's really good. Next up is going to be Doke. Doke's actually be going to the bottom of really good. I feel like Doke, it did get a nerf, but actually got buffed again recently. The first ability is one of the single best abilities in the entire game, and I'll stand by that to the last T. Doke's first ability is one of the best in the game. The C-Spec now is not very good besides the M1s, because the C-Spec now only lasts like probably like half a second. And the other abilities of Doke are overall just not very good. The first ability carries the KG. That's what I'm trying to say. Conchu, in my opinion, is going to be going below a Zimseko above Watsuyame. Conchu, in my personal opinion, I feel like it's a pub stomper. If you guys don't know what a pub stomper is, it means it's really good against noobs. Because which Conchu, all it takes is one full hit of your third ability, and you could drain someone's entire chi bar. So that's why it's good against noobs. Because if you're facing a noob, they won't know what to do, and you'll literally just win based off of them having no chakra. Lava, unusable, bad AoE, bad damage, just bad KG. Minakami's actually be going into good, below Joke, above Azarashi. Minakami, in my opinion, the third ability is the best ability of Minakami, because you can actually combo with it quite well. But the mode, the first ability, the second ability are all glitchy, buggy messes that overall doesn't work half the time. Next up is actually going to be Mud. I know Mud, I put Mud in really good. That was an over-exaggeration, guys. I'm sorry. Mud is not really good. Mud is broken. No, I'm just playing, guys. I feel like Mud is actually going to be going into good above Minakami, below Joke, simply because Mud's first ability is absolutely bonkers. The third ability does more damage than it used to. The first ability is a one-hand sign ragdoll stun that you can make last like 5 seconds if you aim it right. Fun fact. So go check out Mud if you guys haven't. I know it's kind of like a memed on KG, but it's actually good now. So go look at it. Next up is actually going to be Nature. Nature's actually going to be going to good, below Mud, above Minakami. Nature's Woodbine is one of the best stuns in the game. It auto tracks almost perfectly, and it is not even that close range as a stun. And it's overall just a really good stun, and it kind of carries the bloodline overall. The other abilities do a decent amount of damage to help out. Next up is going to be Nectar. Nectar's actually going to be going below Nature, above Minakami. I feel like Nectar overall is very good after the mode rework, but not good enough to be in really good, above all the other KGs and good. But I feel like Nectar is still good. I know you guys are going to meme and say, oh, good, but it's below Mother Nature. But you guys probably don't use Mother Nature, so you don't know how those KGs are. Nectar is still good. Next up is actually going to be Okami. Okami's actually be going into good, below Nectar, above Minakami. In my personal opinion, I feel like Okami, before the first ability got nerfed, it actually was quite good, and I didn't quite realize this. But the first ability was nerfed, and the first ability happens to be the highest damage ability of Okami, and it was the main reason to use it. But it's still very good to use. I didn't quite see this bloodline before in its true form, but it does a ton of damage still. Go check it out. Next up is going to be Paper. Paper's actually be going into really good, above Ink, below Watsuyame. Paper literally does tons of damage now. That's pretty much all to say about Paper. They buffed the damage to the point where Paper's probably the highest DPS bloodline in the game. Yeah, that's literally all there is to say. Atomic, it's going to be at the top of meh. They actually nerfed the main ability of Atomic that was used in combos, and that makes it not good anymore, but it's still a meh bloodline to use because of the stun. Ryan Akuma is actually going to be going to the top of really good. I feel like Ryan Akuma, it was buffed recently. It does have 2 iframe moves. The C-Spec, bad. I honestly don't know why you would ever use the C-Spec of Ryan Akuma. I'm not going to cap. The weapon spec, C-Spec of Ryan Akuma are absolutely useless. But the abilities of Ryan Akuma are okay, but the Chidori is pretty bad. But the third ability and the counter of Ryan Akuma is overall really, really good. Next up is actually be Rengoku. Rengoku's actually be going to the top of really good. Rengoku with the buffs makes it one of the single best KGs in the game, but not good enough to be an almost broken or broken. Rengoku is just really good now. I'm proud that they actually buffed Rengoku for once, but the block break not being on the first ability kind of kills the KG. The second ability not being on the stun global cooldown anymore is very good, but the third ability being on the stun global cooldown is also not good at the same time. Ren Shiki is actually be going probably above Akuma and below Ashes Storm. I feel like Red Shiki, even with the buffs, is still kind of bad as a KG, but I still do think it is really good to use in fights simply because of the thing that you use that drains your stamina and gives you basically your entire chi bar back from attacks. If you time this properly, it can literally win you a fight alone based off of that. And the stun balls on the weapon spec are really good. Next up is going to be Riser Akuma. I believe that Bankai is actually better than Riser now. I was such a Riser fanboy, I'm not going to lie. I really loved Riser Akuma. But I believe Bankai is better. The auto dodge is better on Bankai when it comes to skill, because you can use abilities during Bankais. I feel like the second ability of Bankai is much better than Riser's. The stun is just overall a lot better. The third ability, Riser is better. Riser's third ability is better than Bankai's third ability, but the other two on Bankai are better, and by the pure reason of fact, logic, and math, 2 is more than 1, so Bankai is better than Riser. Raikage is actually going to the bottom of Almost Broken. I feel like Raikage Shizen is usually put on the really good tier list, but I feel like there wasn't an Almost Broken tier list before, and Raiken, if it had a tiny more buff, if they buffed it once more, even just a tiny bit, it would be instantly be broken. So that's why it's going to be an Almost Broken. The damage it does is absurd. Sabru's actually be going to the bottom. Nah, not the bottom of good. I'll put it in second to Karada and Clay. But Sabru, one of the best 1v1 KGs in the game, but other than 1v1s, it's terrible. It's bad. Don't use it other than 1v1s. Next up is going to be Sand. Sand's actually be going into good, below Joke, above Mud. The block break on Sand is actually very good if you can actually land the block break, but sometimes it's actually really hard to actually break their block, because most of the time you only hit 1 proc of Sand rather than 2. But the Sand stun is still extremely good, and the flight on Sand is really good. If you guys don't have anything that could fly, use Sand's third ability. It's almost perfect as an ability. Next up is going to be Satori Akuma. Satori Akuma is actually going to be above Ryan Akuma on really good. I feel like Satori Akuma, even with the nerfs, is still one of the best Akumas in the game, simply because of the third ability being a stun and it having the 2 iframes. Scorched above, it's literally just a worse Frost, so therefore it's going to be below Frost. There's not much else to say about Scorched. Seishin's actually could be going into the bottom of really good. I feel like with the buff, Seishin is actually really good now, if you know how to properly use Seishin. Seishin is honestly just a really annoying to fight if they're actually good at using the Bloodline, but by itself, Seishin practically does nothing. I don't know why so many people defend Sengoku so much. It's bad now, guys, compared to how it used to be. I still believe that it is a really good KG. I still believe that it is a really good KG. But the bottom are really good. Like, come on, guys. Let's be honest here. It's not going to get buffed if you guys do not admit that this Bloodline is not good enough to be 1 off 200. Like, let's be honest here, guys. So Goku's second ability, so predictable. First ability, so incredibly hard to aim and actually use in a fight, and you'll die using it. Puts the third ability on global cooldown, which happens to be the best ability of Sengoku. Third ability gets stuck on trees sometimes. C-spec, first mode, terrible C-spec. Second mode, also a terrible C-spec. Weapon spec being also terrible. And the perfect Susanoo isn't even worth it for Sengoku, because you could be using an Akuma instead. Senko's actually be going to the top of good. I feel like Senko, in my personal opinion, is actually pretty good as a Bloodline. I feel like Senko can be quite busted because you can actually use it in your element slots. And if you can use this in your element slots, the time stop, pretty busted, guys. You should probably check out Senko. A time stop in your element slots can be quite useful for your combos. Wink, wink. Shadow's actually be going to the bottom of good. It is really good for combos, but the nerfs hit Shadow really hard. Nobody uses Shadow anymore, simply because it's just not worth it. There's better stuns now, even though Shadow is literally just a stun Bloodline. That's the whole point of using Shadow. It was majorly a stun Bloodline, but it was nerfed to the point where nobody wants to use it anymore. It could be still used in combos, though. Next up is going to be Shindai. Shindai, it's going to be at the top of broken, guys. I know you guys really don't like this, but Shindai is so good against people that don't know how to deal with it. It is incredible. Like, If you do not know how to properly fight Shindai, I know there's probably good people in the comments going, how to fight Shindai? Block. You can't block Shindai. If they're good at using Shindai, they'll use a block breaker and then stun you, dude. That's the point. Like, you guys, the people in the comments, like, they act as if they know everything about Shindai when they don't. Like, if you're fighting someone actually good at this game that's using Shindai, they're not going to use the Sunflower while you're holding your right mouse button. They're going to block break you and then use it and then one-shot combo you. Like, the Sunflower is so good. The clones still do a ton of damage. The only issue with Shindai right now is it takes a ton of chi from you, which I feel like is very balanced for it because of the amount of damage it does, but the Meteor sucks. Don't get me wrong. Meteor is pretty bad now. Like, nobody ever uses that move. C-Spec is still incredible. Perfect Susano first ability in C-Spec. Let's not even talk about it. It's ridiculous still, guys. It's still the best Akuma in the game. And I'm honestly kind of getting sick of it. Next up is going to be Shizen. Shizen's actually going to be at the bottom of really good. I feel like Shizen, the first ability actually stuns now. The second ability was taken off the global cooldown and is pretty good now for combos. Third ability is not nearly as good as Raiken's because Raiken's does like 4 times the amount of damage. C-Spec is literally Raiken's but less damage. Next up, it's going to be Sound. Sound's actually be going to the bottom of really good. I feel like Sound, overall, it does a lot of damage now. But since it has no mode, I feel like no mode KGs to actually fit into the meta of this game, every single one of a no mode KG needs to be good. It has to be good if it doesn't have a mode. Every single ability should be good. That is my personal opinion on no mode KGs. That's the only reason to ever use them. With Sound, it has that one ability that is terrible. One of the abilities only are good if you're close to them, but the other ability is really, really good to use because it does a ton of damage. Next up is going to be Steam. Steam's actually going into Meh. Below Ice and above Black Shock. I believe Steam it doesn't really fit into the meta right now. That's pretty much all there is to say about it. It just doesn't fit in right now, and that's why it's Meh. Next up is going to be Storm. Storm, in my personal opinion, I feel like Storm is actually good. I feel like Storm is really, really good for team fights. So I'm going to be putting it below Clay and above Sabaru. Storm being super useful for team fights, but for 1v1s, it is extremely lacking. Probably one of the worst KGs in the game for 1v1s. I'm not going to lie to you. But the worst one we'll get to in a second. Next up is going to be Tengoku. Tengoku is actually going to be in Almost Broken, below Forged, and above Eternal. Tengoku now is almost broken. The beam is really, really good. I love Tengoku beam now. Tengoku beam is probably one of my favorite abilities in the game. If you guys have not used it, it's a no hand sign ability that does like 80k damage instantly. And you can also use it to start combos with people that aren't expecting the beam. And you can also use it in the middle combos because it's instant. But the other two abilities aren't actually that good. But the second ability, there's no real reason not to use it now because it's not on the global cooldown. And the C-Spec now block breaks, which is extremely useful for combos. The block break on the C-Spec makes it really, really good, guys. Next up is going to be Glacier. Glacier is actually going to be going into good. This one's kind of debatable because it's incredible for team fights, terrible for 1v1. So I'm going to be putting it below Gold Sand, above Joke, simply because of the team fight potential. But other than team fights, it's literally terrible in 1v1s. Probably the worst 1v1 KG in the game. I'm not even going to lie to you. Next up is going to be Inferno. Inferno actually has my mind changed recently. I feel like Inferno being in your element slots, I feel like the third ability is terrible for Inferno, but the first two abilities are actually extremely good for extending combos, especially the second ability, because the second ability is literally, after they cast it, there's nothing you could do about it. It's going to hit you no matter what, so you might as well auto dodge if that happens. But the dash is also really good for M1 combos. It is just really good combo extender. Next is going to be Ryan Ren. Ryan Ren, in my personal opinion, is going to be at the bottom of Almost Broken. Even with the nerfs, Ryan Ren kind of stands strong. But at the same time, Ryan Ren's kind of garbage now. But against people that don't know how to fight it, same as Shindai, it is still really, really good. But a lot less than it was before the nerfs. Next up is actually going to be Vine. Vine's actually be going into really good. Probably above Akuma and below Renshiki. I feel like Vine overall, as a KG, is really, really good. I don't feel like it's broken or almost broken because the clones, they aren't as good as Shindai's because they don't attack quite as much, which means it's not as good for combos. And the first ability does half damage when you attack people when they're in the stun. C-Spec, same way. It still does more damage, though, after they buffed it. Second ability of Vine is absolutely ridiculous. Literally one of the most annoying abilities in the entire game. And the mode, you being able to hide, is also really annoying. Really good in RPG. Other than that, no. Next episode could be Hair. Hair, in my personal opinion, is going to be in Almost Broken, below Eternal, above Raiken. I feel like it's not as good as a combo KG. I feel like it's not as good as a combo KG as it used to be, and therefore, since it's not as good as a combo KG as it used to be, it'll be below Eternal, which is extremely good for combos, but it still is Almost Broken. I feel like the Almost Broken tier is probably one of the best additions I've made to this tier list, because it definitely separates the Brokens from the Almost Brokens. Light Joke is actually be going into Broken. I'm actually going to be putting this above Bubble and below Riser, and Dark Joke is literally the same thing. I'm going to be putting in the same exact spot, but Dark Joke looks better, so it's going to be above Light Joke. But Light Joke counter, one of the best counters in the game, hands down. Probably the best counter, actually, now that I think about it. Probably the best iframe in the game. Yeah, you heard that here. Light Joke iframe, absolutely ridiculous. First ability, a no hand side block breaker. The range is extremely limited, though. Third ability can be used in combos, but I don't feel like it's very good overall for combos because you can auto dodge out of it. But if you properly combo into it, you can do it. It does an okay amount of damage. C-Spec, ridiculous. I'm not even joking when I say this. I'm pretty sure Light Joke has the best C-Spec in the game. Almost unavoidable. Literally like 100k damage. Almost unavoidable. I'm going to let that sink in for a second with you guys. Next up is going to be Mecha Spirit. Mecha Spirit's actually be going into the really good tier. Right above Sengoku. I feel like this is the exact place that Mecha should go. It's literally better than Sengoku, and that's about it. The first ability of Mecha is extremely good. Third ability is also extremely good. Second ability needs to be taken off the auto dodge global cooldown. I don't even know why it's on it. Mode is terrible. And there's not much else to say about it. Mode is just bad. I could go into like deep reasoning on why the mode's bad, but you all have seen it. You all have used it. It's bad. Next up is going to be Oda Sabri. Oda Sabri is actually be going into Almost Broken at the very bottom of Almost Broken because of the clones. I know nobody uses the clones anymore, but they're still good. They're still probably extremely busted, extremely good for combos, and extremely good overall. Nobody uses them anymore because I guess everyone forgot about that this bloodline even existed. But yeah, mode has 2 stuns in itself. First ability of Sabri is literally just a Golden Joke rotation, but reskinned. So Golden Joke iframes, you get that with Sabri. And the second ability is one of the best block breakers in the game. Pikasenko is going to be going into really good, below Sengoku and above Shizen. Only good for running. I know there's that one dude in that comment section. I know you really like Pikasenko. I know you love this bloodline, but it is good for running. That is it. If you compare this to any KG that is above this, you could take a second, pause this video, look at all the KGs above it. They are all better for fighting. You could even like go into depth analysis on it. They are all better for fighting. Cobra. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I know this might make some of you guys mad overall, but Cobra is going to be going to meh. Yeah. I feel like Cobra is probably the main KG in this game right now that actually needs buffed. I feel like Cobra, for its rarity, is terrible. It even has a skin and it's terrible. I'm not going to stand for the injustice of a really rare bloodline that someone might roll, get happy about, and then realize it's absolute garbage and then get mad at the game and quit. These bloodlines should not exist. If it is above 100 rarity, it should at least be good. That is my personal opinion, and Cobra is terrible. First ability literally drains half your chi bar, does almost nothing. Third ability, not even a very good stun. It's on the stun global cooldown, not even a good stun. Does barely any damage. Second ability is a very good iframe ability. I feel like the second ability is probably the best ability of Cobra. And I know there's going to be someone in the comments. The M1s are really good. No, they're not anymore. They nerfed that. That was a long time ago when they were good. It was nerfed. And the reanimation jutsu, there's literally a Z-Spec mode that does that same exact thing, but only drains 25 mode a second to use. Let that sink in for a second. Only drains 25 mode a second to use compared to Cobra, which drains more than that, and the mode is not nearly as good. You're draining mode by using the mode spec. Like, come on, guys. Next is going to be Giovanni Shizen. Giovanni Shizen overall, guys, I know this may surprise you guys, but Variety Mud is literally just a better Giovanni Shizen. When you think about it for a second, the only thing that Giovanni Shizen has over Variety Mud is the second mode of Giovanni Shizen. That's it. That's the only thing that makes it different. Otherwise, Variety Mud has a much better moveset. And I actually really want Variety Mud to have a Z-Spec mode, but I'll go into that later. Jodarish's and Giovanni Shiz is actually going to be really good in my personal opinion, but below Concho. That is the point. That is the main point of why I think that this bloodline probably needs buffed. The third ability is absolutely terrible for Giovanni Shizen. It crashes games sometimes as well. Not only that, but it's extremely hard to hit. First ability of Giovanni Shizen, nobody uses the Golem. Nobody uses the Golem ever. It does less damage than Variety Mud's Golem, but that doesn't mean Variety Mud's Golem is necessarily better. It just means that Giovanni Shizen's Golem is bad. Even though it has a chance of using the weapon spec, the weapon spec always procs way above them, so it doesn't even hit them. And overall, Giovanni Shizen gets carried by its mode spec. The second ability of Giovanni Shizen is actually pretty good overall, but there's just better to use in my personal opinion. Diva Sengoku, Diva Rengoku actually be going to the top of almost broken. I feel like Diva Sen and Diva Ren aren't necessarily broken. I feel like they are almost broken. The iframes on them are really good, but it's almost impossible to combo with this KG, which makes it almost broken. If you cannot get a proper combo off with a KG that has iframes, it doesn't make it broken. Because you cannot one-shot people with this KG. It is almost impossible. I can guarantee you, the only one-shot combo that you will find with this KG is going to be some cheese pull strat that I showed in a video already. That'll be it. Any other combo would be auto-dodgeable because it is impossible. Next one's going to be Typhoon. Typhoon's actually going into really good. I feel like Typhoon's actually going to be going above Doke and below Kaijin. I feel like as an EKG, it's very good, but the randomness of it actually really makes it bad. I feel like randomness, RNG, in an element, KG, is really bad. In a bloodline in general, it's just really bad to have randomness. You want consistency, and Typhoon does not give you consistency. Now, Inferno Karashi and Ghost Karashi, I feel like this KG is very busted. It hasn't been touched yet. I'm actually going to be putting in a broken above Dark Joke and above Light Joke. I know that, like, I have barely seen this KG. People forgot that this KG even existed after the newest update with Xenodoke, Variety Mud, and Narmaki. People forgot this even existed. It's still busted. It hasn't been touched. It's still extremely good. First ability is an iframe. Don't even get me started on that. Someone was using the first ability against me, and I literally could barely land a combo on them because the first ability stuns you after it hits. So it's literally like an iframe. It's basically, I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's literally Riser Genjutsu, but better. Riser Genjutsu, but much better. Not even the Genjutsu, the first ability. My bad, guys. Emerald, in my personal opinion, is going to be going into really good above Typhoon, below Kaijin. It's a better EKG than Typhoon, in my personal opinion, and is really good for combos. You can move stack with it, but the second ability is really glitchy sometimes, but it can be really useful in fights. But actually, the third ability was nerfed recently. First ability is good for combos. Naramaki, the single highest bloodline move in the game now. The single highest bloodline move in the game now is home to Naramaki. So, just because of that, it's be going into broken, below Bubble, above Kenichi. I feel like this is the proper place for Naramaki and Yang Naramaki. If you guys want to debate that in the comments, go ahead. I'll read every single comment that if you guys want to debate. But Naramaki, third ability, so high, insanely high damage, it's unreal. M1s are I think they actually are the best M1s in the game. I'm not even gonna lie to you, they have the best M1s in the game. Weapon spec is okay, I guess. The first ability is also okay. Second ability is extremely predictable, easy to dodge. C-spec, probably one of the worst C-specs in the game, I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't even look that cool. But I think it's a very good KG overall because of the things I listed. I'm gonna be doing my KG last. Xenodoke is going to be going into broken. Xenodoke is actually be going probably above Light Joke and below Inferno and Ghost Karashi. And guys, I know this is going to look weird to you. This is the most broken KGs that have ever been in the game. I think Rel, like, the balance team, they're doing fine, right? I feel like overall we have made a lot of the worst KGs better. But I feel like what the balance team is targeting right now is nerfing these. Nerfing the really good KGs. Nerfing the good KGs. But what we need to focus on is balancing these. These need to be balanced. If anything, these need to be brought to almost broken, in my personal opinion. Xenodoke overall, Second ability, literally one of the best abilities in the game. I think that is no debate, no question. One of the best abilities in the game. Simply because it place locks you, it stuns you, it does tons of damage. The AoE on it is insane. First ability of Xenodoke is kind of hard to hit, but it has insane AoE, so if you have even decent aim, you hit it. And it does an okay stun, okay amount of damage. Third ability, literally Ryan Rengoku's Genjutsu before it was nerfed. That's literally the third ability of Xenodoke. C-Spec just makes the abilities better. It's extremely close range, the actual mode spec of it. Like when you do the C-Spec. Extremely close ranged. Not very good. Variety Mud is going to be going to the top of really good. Variety Mud is not broken at all. In my personal opinion, I feel like Variety Mud being a 1 out of 90 kg, I feel like Rel should probably add a Z mode to this. I know I said this before. I feel like there should be a Z mode added to Variety Mud because the Mud doesn't have one. So Variety Mud having one, and maybe add one to Emerald as well. Like, I feel like the better specs of the common variants should have a mode, even if it's a bad mode. I feel like even if it only gives you like 2,000 stats each, even if it only gives you like a bad ability, like Glacier's ability, or maybe it gives you like better M1s. That's all it gives you is better M1s, or maybe increases your walk speed, or just gives you like probably like one stat. A ton of one stat. Something, they need to have something to make them worthwhile to get over the common variants. But other than that, first ability of Variety Mud, not very good. Second ability of Variety Mud, one of the best stuns in the game. Hands down, one of the best stuns in the game. Literally turns the Shindo Life into the floor is lava minigame. That's what it turns Shindo Life into. Third ability, it's easy to counter, but if you get hit by it, you're literally done. You get one shot after that. Anyways, guys, gonna actually be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, like for more. Hope to see you next one, guys. Bye-bye.